Hey everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host Nitin Bajaj, and joining us today, all the way from Moscow, Russia, is Svetlana. Svetlana, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for making the drive here.
Thank you.
Not literally from Moscow. So, tell us about you. Where were you born? Where did you go to school?
So, I was born in Moscow, Russia in 1991. It's the city where I grew up in, went to school. Most of my friends are from Moscow, my childhood friends from school, from college. And I was born to a mixed family. So my mom is Russian and my dad was from India. He was Telugu, Hyderabad. Yeah, so I'm half Russian, half South Indian. But I grew up in Moscow, and I guess it kind of shaped me in a kind of diverse way, I would say, because I was like surrounded by Russian culture and the mainstream pop media culture, like the Hollywood films. But at the same time, there was like Bollywood playing at home and Tollywood and all of that. So I kind of had this multicultural impact on me since my first days, and I think it's one of the reasons that has
Okay, now go ahead.
it's one of the reasons that kind of shaped my mindset, and this is why whenever people ask me, are you Russian or are you Indian, I don't have an answer. I'm both.
Yeah.
I'm both, and I'm like a citizen of the world, because
in the true sense.
we're all human beings.
Yeah. So growing up, obviously you're listening to different kinds of music. Did you ever, or do you speak any different languages? I mean, you speak English, obviously. I'm guessing you also speak Russian. What other languages do you speak or understand?
Yeah, so our family language is Russian.
Right.
Even though my dad was Indian, he also spoke Russian fluently because he studied in Moscow. And so whenever we communicate in our family, it's always Russian. But I've learned English since school, even like actually before I started school. I started learning English, and then just with school and college, I kind of kept on doing it. And now it is the main language that I use in all of my artistic work. Yeah, and I also learned a little bit of German. It's cool, I forgot most of it because of lack of practice. But if you put me into Germany, and I will,
you'll survive.
I'll figure it out. Like I will still understand what they're talking about. I'll be able to read the labels and the menu, and to survive.
It comes back,
it comes back really quickly, just like 2-3 months, and you're there. And a kind of similar situation is with Hindi. So I didn't learn it at school, I didn't learn it at home because Dad was South Indian, so he spoke Telugu.
Yes,
he knew Hindi, but he didn't really
use it much.
So, and I don't speak Telugu because he was pretty busy. He used to work a lot, and he didn't have time to teach us the language. So we really stick to Russian, and I learned Hindi a little bit with my with a tutor.
And especially with Kathak, there are some element of, if you speak the language, it helps a bit.
It helps a lot, yes. So once I learned the basics, I basically helped myself to spend less time on translating the Hindi into English of lyrics of each song. I still have to do that, but at this point it's kind of like when I hear the song, I get
the mood,
the most of it, the meaning of the most of it. But still, when you choreograph a piece, you really want to be very specific.
Every word,
you want to make sure you don't mess up the meaning of the song. So I look it up, and then I'm like, okay, now I know what we're doing, what's happening, what's the story, what's the emotion, what's the feeling that we want to transcend to the audience.
Right.
So yeah.
So you travel a lot, right? What's your favorite city?
I have 3 favorite cities. Does that count? So I really love LA. LA and New York are 2 of my most favorite cities when it comes to not just traveling to visit and leave, but as in to live there, to work there, the kind of environment, the artistic community over there, the dance community, all of that, the crazy big city life, which
and
is
a lot
something,
of culture, right?
a lot of culture, which is something so dear to me. Because I come from Moscow, which is like
another
a huge
big city.
megapolis with all of the cultural stuff going on. And the 3rd favorite city is Rome.
Oh,
Rome, Italy. I wouldn't be able to live there, unfortunately, but it's just like my favorite getaway kind of vacation, one-way ticket.
Yeah, very unlike LA
destination.
and New York, right?
Yeah, it's just like so. You just enjoy being there.
Right.
There's this certain type of atmosphere that, to me, not there's no other place like Rome.
Agreed. Any favorite song?
Um,
More than 3?
I'm a really big fan of Sanjay Leela Bhansali's music. So
Yeah.
most of the songs, like really most of
Mhm.
the, I would say all of his songs are my favorite. Ayat
Yeah.
from Bajirao Mastani, Kaaye Ched Moe from
Yeah.
Devdas, Mar Dala, Dola Re Dola, all
Nice.
of it. Aaj Ibadat, Lal Ishq. There are
Very
so many
expressive.
songs.
Very
Yeah.
expressive. Yeah.
Because it's like a perfect combination of the music,
Mm-hmm.
the rhythm, different patterns in the song. It's not
Yeah.
flat. It's very like
Mm-hmm.
you know, the lyrics, like the feeling
Very
that it
emotional.
gets.
Yeah.
You cannot, even if you don't speak a word of Hindi, you
Right.
will still feel what
Yes.
they are trying to tell you. And I think that's important when it comes to like real art.
Mhm.
It transcends the borders of any, you know, geographical borders, language, religion, background, Indian, Russian, American.
Yeah. And he's very uh, expressive in that sense, right?
Oh,
He
yeah.
has he's a visionary,
I
and
agree.
he can encapsulate all of those things. There's a lot going on, but there's that streak of emotion that goes through his music and his movies.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, going back to Russia, like you said, you're in the mix of all of these different cultures. How did you get introduced to Kathak specifically? Because your father was South Indian and this is North Indian.
Yeah.
So how did that interesting experience happen?
So that's an interesting story. I started off at the age of 9,
Mhm.
probably 9 or 10. That was when both my parents took me to the Indian Cultural Center by the embassy in Moscow, and that's where they taught Kathak, tabla, Hindi, yoga, all of that stuff.
Okay.
And they just brought me to Kathak class, and okay, we'll see what's going to happen. So I stayed there for 2 years.
Mhm.
I didn't like it. I have to be honest. I didn't like it at the beginning. I was this little girl who was like hearing forced into that. I was like, what is all this about? You know, so much footwork, so less like variations of what is happening. So I quit.
Wow.
After that, my dad didn't give up. He took me to a kuchipudi dance class.
Wow.
Again, in the same cultural center.
Yeah.
And I've been there for 2-3 months. I think
Mhm.
2-3, maybe 4 months. But then again, after that time, I was like, I'm not really like feeling this stuff. I don't know. I was a kid. I didn't really care much
Right.
about emotions. But you still subconsciously know if this is
Right.
like yours or it's like
Right.
not really. So then I quit. But my parents again didn't give up. So my dad found the lady that has become my lifelong Guruji. She is Russian. Her name is Ekaterina Yuryevna Seliverstova.
Yeah.
My Indian colleagues call her Katya Ji.
Okay.
It's a short for her
Yeah.
complicated
Right.
Russian name. Yeah, so she has trained. She has been trained in Kathak from National Institute of Kathak,
Mhm.
Kathak Kendra in
Right.
Delhi. Her guru was Urmila Nagarji,
Mhm.
Jaipur Gharana of Kathak.
Mhm.
So after she graduated from that, she came back to Moscow and started her dance school, and I've been with her since like last 15 years maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, and she is someone who has been my teacher, my guru, my mentor, everything I am today
Over to
in
her.
Kathak.
Yeah.
I owe it to her, and it's hard to describe how much grateful I am. It's just, I think it shows in my I hope it shows in my dance,
In
and
your
I
work,
try to
yeah.
mention her name whenever I can.
It's
very
awesome.
important, yeah.
So, when you were going to Kathak, living in Moscow, were there other dance forms you were more attracted to than Kathak?
I haven't really tried many of the dance forms. I've always been into hip hop music.
That's really loud.
Yeah, I've been really big fan of hip hop music and R&B and like all of that. So I thought that maybe I should, try and pursue that field. But like my parents took over before I did anything. And honestly, I'm grateful to them.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for them,
And their persistence,
Their persistence, both my mom and my dad, because they were like really big fans of classical Indian songs, movies, like literature, architecture, like everything basically. And I think their love towards this culture has, it's like
helped
now
you,
reflecting in what I'm doing.
Was there influence of, I have to ask you this because Raj Kapoor was really big and it probably is in Russia.
Yeah.
So was there some influence of?
Yeah, I would say.
So he's still popular?
He's still popular.
Wow, that's
Raj
amazing.
Kapoor is a name that every single person in Russia knows, and we owe this to the Soviet Union because
Yes.
at that time there was like this huge cultural cooperation between the ministries of culture, I
Right.
guess, of
Yeah.
Soviet Union and India, and a lot of films were there. A lot of Bollywood actors and film directors would come for all these film festivals and screenings. There was so much going on, and for some reason, the films created by Raj Kapoor, they were like multi. I don't know. Anybody could connect to them.
Right.
People would really like actually love them. You know, not just like the film, but like love them, and it's the same today. If you ask people of the older generation, they would say that India is Raj Kapoor. We know that.
Yes. So, you were learning Kathak and you're kind of doing your part-time gigs and you had what I would call a regular job, right? At what moment did you decide that Kathak was going to become your career, or that's what you were going to do the rest of your life?
Before I became a full-time dancer, I've had an office job. The office job was human resources field.
Right.
I was like a consultant working for a little boutique headhunting firm, and my job was to interview people and see if they can apply for a certain job. And it was a nice job because I got to meet a lot of people, I got to explore different fields, but at some point I felt that this is interesting, this is nice, but it doesn't really, like, if I ask myself, was I happy? No. The answer is no. I was not happy. I was like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Yeah, I'm like earning money. I'm like buying stuff, but I don't have time for my family, for my friends, I have less time for my dance, and I felt that this didn't feel right. So at some point, I remember it was May 2015, which was like exactly 4 years ago, was when I quit my job. And I went to India for 3 months.
Wow.
To figure out what am I going to do with my life now, because I couldn't live as an office worker.
Did you know
anymore.
anyone in India at that point?
Well, I had my relatives in Hyderabad, but I went to Mumbai. And at that point, I did a bunch of TV shows. I tried in a bunch of reality dance shows. I tried in a Bollywood film. I tried like so many things, and I met a lot of dancers at that point.
And this is all you trying directly?
Nothing worked out.
Wow.
I was like, nothing worked out. And every time, it was like, they tell to your face that, you're brilliant, you're very talented, blah, blah, blah,
But
you're going to make it. And then nothing happens, or they cut you out of the streaming, or they never let you film for what they told you you're going to film for.
Wow.
Or you don't make it to the final cut, or things like that.
So no professionalism in general.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, even though I got rejected so many times, I'm still grateful for that period, because it was really that time when I realized that I still want to be doing dance full time. This is something that is so much a part of me by now that there's no way I'm going to live without it. So I'm going to figure it out one way or another.
So your persistence comes from your parents, I suppose.
I guess so. I was a stubborn little girl ever since I was a kid, but I guess nothing has changed since then. It kind of helps. Because when you know what you love, and you know that what you love makes other people happy.
Yes.
You got to figure it out. You got to figure out, how do you do that? How do you make this as a career choice, And I never looked back.
So what was the transition point? When did you realize that, so you had such, I would say, a bad experience over several months. One, what gave you the persistence, there has to be some hope, right? And then at what point did you realize that, yes, it is working, it's worth keep going in and doing this?
Well, I think getting my first international gig was something that really changed my mind towards this. Surprisingly, it was China.
Wow.
A place where there's no YouTube, no
Yeah.
Facebook, no basically social media that we're all used to, and all of my videos I put out there, and they were the first one to discover me and to bring me over for a big Indian dance festival,
really
for a performance, for it was a huge 2-week event
Wow.
with lots of people coming and attending. It's huge show, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. So starting from there, I guess it was a word of mouth mostly, because other festival organizers and other people started seeing and inviting, and slowly build up to a point where I was touring all year round,
Nice.
every week a new city or a new country. I was like, really? I never thought that this
could work.
Something which was my hobby as a kid would bring me all over the world, and just it's incredible.
That's amazing. Well, I mean, you make it sound like it just happened. There's a lot of hard work that went into it, right?
Of course.
So when you flew out to India to getting this gig in China, what was that? How long was that in between phase?
A couple of months.
Okay,
A
that's
couple
pretty
of
quick.
months, yeah. So I think I spent the summer in India, June, July, August. And then in about November, I think I got my first gig outside of Russia, in India, which was I consider it international.
Yes.
So that was a big deal for me. And then I thought, okay, if people are really interested in seeing more of what I do, then I should keep on doing and see where it brings me. It was very scary.
I can imagine.
Very risky. No backup, no plan B. No nothing, no team, just me out there doing things, so, and hoping that it's going to work out. And luckily, thank God, it did work out.
So, there was a tragedy in your family. You lost your dad, unfortunately, and unexpectedly when you were 13. How did that influence what you did? I mean, I would imagine, at that stage, most people will turn away and say, I'm not going to take a risk, right? I'm going to stay home, stay safe. How did you go about, and what role did he play in helping you make this your career?
That's a good question. I mean, when he passed, it was devastating for our family, because he was the only one to provide for the family, and he was our only support, and then we were also young, and we didn't have any guaranteed way to make it, and then the reason why we didn't give up was because it's having a tragedy like that is a terrible thing, and I would never ever wish that this happens to anyone that I know, but it kind of kept our family together, and it really strengthened up our relationships, and we became like a team. So everybody started doing a little bit of working this and that to help each other and to survive. And for me, what it did is, not only did we connect deeper as a family, but we also went I thought, okay, if I quit dance, that I would kind of
disappoint
and kind of betray what he saw in me, and I couldn't imagine doing that. So I thought, okay, I'm just gonna stick to doing that, and there's no way I'm gonna give it up, especially after he was no more. Because I remember he used to watch my videos, my very early videos, which were horrible, no expressions, just this little girl doing some steps, and he would watch it on repeat, day and night. I was like, why? I cannot even watch this. This is horrible. He's like, go away. He was just I think he was happy to see his little girl just doing some Indian cultural thing, and I thought it was important to keep it. I'm not even sure I realized that fully at that age, but now I do, and it's like the foundational thing for me. It's like
Yeah.
another reason why I keep doing this.
Mhm.
Not only because apparently it makes some people smile,
Right.
but it also hopefully makes my dad smile.
Did you ever talk about, or did he expect, if you know, because you were so young, did he expect you to do this full time? Was this
He never told me that. He would just support me in just, he would
learning?
he
and-
would stay
yeah,
outside
Right.
whenever I had the class. He would just
Mhm.
stay outside and watch sometimes like in the window, and he would like really support that. But I don't know if he wanted me to be a full-time artist or not. I just knew that he wanted me to know where I
The
come
culture.
from,
Yeah.
what my roots are,
Right.
and to embrace that instead of
Mhm.
just saying, "Oh, I'm Russian.
Right.
I don't care about my background." I think that's what was his thought behind putting me into the class in the first place.
So when you chose to become, take this on as your career, you also made the choice to become an entrepreneur. Did that scare you in any way? Because we just talked about, there's so many things that you get involved with. So did that scare you from, this is my passion and my hobby, and it's going to take me away from that and make it work? Were you ever concerned about that?
Yeah, it was very scary. I mean, you give up a job that you've been doing for 5 years full time, which
Right.
would pay your bills, pay for a lot of things, and make you feel secure, and you
Yeah.
could predict your income and things like that. And then
Mhm.
you just kind of, okay, I'm done. Okay, now I'm gonna just jump off the cliff and see if I have wings.
Which
so-
you do, by the way.
Well, thank God it worked out, but it was like incredibly scary. And then again, most people don't really feel that dance is a career.
Right.
You can make a career out of dance. People think, oh, you're a dancer. Oh, okay.
Maybe you do it on the side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like whatever. But, dancerpreneurship
Mm-hmm.
is something which includes not only dancing, but choreographing,
Yes.
figuring out the costumes,
Mhm.
the hair and makeup,
Yeah.
getting the studio for rehearsals, getting the dancers, training them, figuring out like how are you gonna pay your bills, because the bills are not going anywhere. Yeah, you left
Right.
your job, but the bills are still there and your life is still going, and what are you gonna do? So you figure out all the paperwork, you figure out where do you get new clients, you do all the sales,
Right.
like as a
Yes.
because what is entrepreneurship?
Right.
Basically selling your
Exactly.
business all the
Yep.
time, talking to people and networking.
Right.
And social media helps a lot.
Yeah.
That is another job, basically a full-time job.
Maintaining it,
Maintaining
managing. Yeah.
social media, because at the beginning it was like a little bit of following here and there, some messages, some comments. Now it's ridiculous. You have to sit all day literally answering to the inbox because there's so many things going on and so many people see the videos.
And the more popular it gets, the more it.
Yeah, and it only gets more and more, and you're like, oh my God, like I'm spending so much time on this and I have so little left for the actual practice,
Yeah.
So I guess eventually I will get a team to
Take care
team
of all
of people
that. Yeah.
who feel the passion for Indian culture and feel the need to, take it out there and
Mhm.
show it to as many people as possible. So
And you're doing a great job. So congratulations.
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, is most of the work that you do, I mean, we kind of talked about it and touched upon it a bit. So, social media has been pretty big in getting the word of mouth out there for you and getting you these connections with other folks. What else do you do to, get some of these performances in play? You do workshops and other things. So, do you have an agent in place? And talk to us from a perspective of someone else wanting to get into this line of work. What should they be thinking about? Right?
Yeah, so I do not have an agent, but what I do
Mhm.
have is whenever I get a local gig in a
Mhm.
different city or a different country, there is always a local person or a company who is
That's helping
handling
you
the
out, yeah.
like the technicalities, like the
Right.
logistics,
Mhm.
the bookings, the financials, like the paperwork, like some of the stuff.
Mhm.
Of course, I get help with that.
Right.
But it's only locally, so until you get there, you figure it out on your own how you're gonna travel and get your costumes and dancers and put everything together, where you're gonna rehearse, because if it's a big show like we did, like 1.5 hour program,
Yeah.
you gotta prepare for that. You
Yes.
gotta rehearse
Yes.
for like at least
Every single minute. Yeah.
8 hours a day,
Yes.
7 days a week at least. Somewhere where all your dancers are based. In my case, it was in Ludhiana, Punjab.
Wow.
which is like 8 hours by car from Delhi.
Yes.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous. But it's all worth it, and it's all working out wonderfully.
So just having a passion for dance is not enough.
You have to be so much in love with what you do
Yes.
that you have to sacrifice a lot of other
Yes.
things, basically.
True.
Sleep.
Yes. Yes.
Sleep deprivation is a real thing, guys.
Yeah.
Food, like something else. See, when you have an office job, you usually focus on that
Mhm.
during your working hours, and then once it's done, you have a weekend and you're fully relaxing.
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, there's no such thing.
There's no such
I don't
thing.
have a day off or a
Yeah.
weekend or a holiday. I work like 24/7.
Every day is the same.
Every day is the work day. So yeah, it's a different state of mind. You have to be prepared
Yes.
for a lot of pressure. Yeah.
So, back to India, we were talking about Ludhiana. You also ended up in a movie, and there was just a few, big names,
Yeah.
right? Imtiaz Ali, Ranbir Kapoor, Deepika. In about a minute or so, tell us about that experience of yours.
So when I just left my job and I moved to India, I went to India for a couple of months. That was the time when I reconnected to Imtiaz Ali,
Mhm.
and I met his company in their office, and they came to the meeting with a script. They said, "Here's your role. Go prepare." I'm like, "What is happening? I didn't know you were filming something. I was just like saying hi,
Yeah.
So I got this role of Sita of
Mhm.
Ramayana in this movie Tamasha. It got released in 2016, I think, or
Yeah.
2017. Yeah, and it was a very beautiful experience. We filmed in Mumbai for a week in
Mhm.
the studio with. I had 2 scenes with Ranbir, and
Mhm.
Deepika was there on set every day, and it was a very beautiful learning experience. Eventually, all of the cuts didn't make it.
Mhm.
All of the scenes didn't make it to the final cut, but I think what it gave me is another reason to believe in myself, another reason to keep on working and
Yeah.
working real hard. I know
Mhm.
that this kind of stuff happens even
Yes.
to very big actors, and you just gotta believe in yourself and not give up.
Yeah. So, tell me about, if you haven't lost count of this yet, how many performances have you done till date?
Oh, I wish I knew. I have to count, but it's hundreds.
Few
I would
hundreds,
say a
yeah.
few hundreds. Yeah,
Yeah.
because starting from the first performance when I was 11 years old,
Yeah.
and until now, 16 years of performing and traveling. And then before performing professionally, I would do it just for
Just for
Holi
fun,
Mela,
yeah,
Diwali
right.
Mela in Moscow, and some competitions, lots of competitions in Russia and Ukraine, and all of that stuff. So yeah, a couple of hundreds.
Since you mentioned that, we should talk about this for a sec. So you were a semi-finalist on Russia's Got Talent and Ukraine's Got Talent,
Yes.
and then you did a few competitions even in India, and you made it
Yes.
through the rounds. So these are, I'm guessing, very, very highly competitive. I mean, talking
They
about
are.
hours of work a day, and
They're unbelievably competitive. There were tens of thousands of people auditioning for each of these shows, and somehow I got selected. And the one we did in India with Kumar Sharma,
Yeah.
my dance partner from Ludhiana, Punjab.
who's also very popular.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
We did this as a duo. It was Dance Plus season 3,
Mhm.
Dance Plus Ek Level
Right.
Up, and it was a fun experience. We did a Kathak fusion performance for the first round, for the second round, and then eventually we got a lot of shows after
Right.
that. A lot of people saw those videos,
Mhm.
and they really loved it, and that's the
Wanted
reason
more of
why
it, yeah.
that's why we kept traveling so much
Right.
together, doing shows in Europe, in Asia, in North America,
Mhm.
all over the place. Yeah.
So you do a lot of covers, right? And so if you think about 5 to 7 years from now, where do you see yourself doing more covers, doing some original performances, or doing maybe a Broadway kind of a show? What's the vision 3, 5, 7 years down the line?
I would say that the ultimate dream would be to merge the world of dance with the world of cinema.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Kathak as a art form is something that really most people are not familiar with, and most people haven't heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would do everything I can in the next 5, 7,
Mm-hmm.
and
Longer,
etc.
yeah.
years to try to bring those two together in the most in the right way, in a way
Mhm.
that respects the traditions of this ancient art form, but also in a way that would make wider audiences connect to that. So I think that is my main focus.
What are you most excited about in life right now?
Well, it's a blessing to be able to travel so
Yes.
much. I mean, every week I travel somewhere. This is not a joke, and it really drains you out actually.
Yes.
But at the same time, it gives you so much excitement and so much happiness to see people of all kind of backgrounds just wanting to
Mhm.
learn something about Indian culture, and me being the kind of like a kind of ambassador to sharing that art with people. I think this is something that makes me the happiest person on earth.
That's awesome. Any upcoming shows that we should know of?
Well, right now I'm in a little bit of a tour, I would say,
Yeah.
in North America.
Yes.
I'm doing a show in Dallas next weekend,
Okay.
and then I'm doing something in New York City,
Mhm.
and then I'm doing something out here in California, in Orange County.
Oh, nice.
Performances, classes, collaborations, a lot of interesting things happening. After that, we're going to be touring South Africa with
Wow.
Kumar,
Nice.
and then Europe, like Germany, Belgium. So it's like a lot of things going on.
You stay busy.
Yeah, I kind of stay busy. I'm really happy, and thank God that this is working out this way. I'm
No,
really
you're doing
happy.
amazing work. You're bringing
Thank you.
not just the Indian culture, but an art performance to a lot of the young generation. And looking at you and the success you brought, it gives a lot of the people out there hope that they can choose this as a career option, especially with Indian culture. That has never been the case. So kudos to you. Congratulations.
Thank
and
you so much.
thank you for being with us. This was amazing.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.